It's week 20 of the 52-week art journal journey, and I'm experimenting again, but not with watercolors, though that was tempting. I figured not everyone would be as excited as I to keep on with them. This week, I'm giving you a few options for image transfers to try in your journal. Packing tape was completely new for me. You'll need at least one laser printed or magazine image. You'll also need clear packing tape and glue or Mod Podge, as well as clean, warm water in a container at least a bit wider and longer than your image, if you'd like a shiny, translucent image. For an image that's a bit closer to opaque, you'll need Mod Podge or gel medium. Gesso and acrylic paint and other material to make a mixed media piece are also optional. If you're new here, welcome. Visit the week 1 prompt. It'll give you a better idea of what we're doing here. The week 2 prompt can help you let go of unnecessary and unhelpful focus on the outcome over the process, and let go of striving for some impossible perfection. You can find links to these in the description. We all should expect to love the way some of our small art turns out, and that not everything will turn out as we envision or hope, and that's okay. For this week's video, I started with the packing tape transfer because I'd never tried it. I'd seen it on Instagram, which is where I see a lot of cool ideas I'd like to try. I thought that it would be the only technique in this week's video, but that's not the way it turned out. I hope you have as much fun as I did. Packing tape image transfers work with the aforementioned laser prints and magazine images, as well as old book pages. Keep in mind that the original will be destroyed, so don't use anything you want to keep. If you'd like to make a transfer of lines from a favorite book or something like that, you can photocopy the page or photograph or scan them to print. Just be sure it's a laser copier or printer. This method is pretty easy. Well, in a way. I guess I should have said this technique is rather simple, though I could never quite make it work like the first Instagram video I watched. Take your tape and put it on the image you want to transfer to your page. If it's wider than your tape, you will have to cover the entire page with strips of tape. With my first attempt, I figured I had just gotten my strips of tape a little further away from each other than touching as they came apart during the next step. But as you'll see, layering them a tiny bit just leaves stripes in your print. After you have tape covering everything you'd like to transfer, place your image into your pan of water. Soak it for a little bit. It doesn't have to be that long. And the back of the image will come right off. If you don't feel like dealing with piecing your transfer back together as you apply it to your page, go for smaller transfers. I found that a glue stick works perfectly fine. You can place your transferred image or images onto a blank or painted page. I placed one on one of my watercolor pages, which turned out to be a bit too dark for how the transfer came out. But it is an interesting effect to put a black and white image on a colored background. If you'd like to leave gaps in your image, leave gaps between your pieces of tape. There must be at least a million ways to fill in the gaps. A magazine image on a plain background is the simplest option for this week's small art. After my first couple of packing tape transfers, I went back to get a little more practice with my Mod Podge. I decided to use acrylic paint to make a background for a black and white photo. My printer isn't the greatest, and I wasn't thinking about how low I am on toner, but it's an idea with which you would likely have more success than I did this go-round. But it is an interesting effect. I was just going for something bolder. Remember that images will come out reversed with this method, which is particularly important to remember if your chosen image has text in it. Be sure before you print it to reverse it if you would like it to come out the way it looks on your screen. I had a little difficulty with my Mod Podge and packing tape transfer mashup. I adapted a bit and now know better what to do to create a better effect next time. Remember, that's one of the beauties of our art journals. We can experiment. We don't have to worry about judgment. We can just do what we want to do and have fun and learn. The last piece in this video is a basic mixed media composition that I ran out of time to get more layers into for more interest, but figured you could at least use it as a jumping off point or inspiration to fly with your own ideas. Transferred images never look exactly like the original and don't always turn out the way we'd like. Wrinkles, air bubbles, a thin spot of glue or toner, so many variables. Though what could be considered flaws are part of the beauty, the interest. As we go through life, circumstances, situations, and events leave their marks on us. They shape the way we develop. Some hurt. And we need to acknowledge the effects of trauma and loss so we can heal. We can also be grateful for evidence of our own resilience. Maybe you are feeling broken, but you've made it this far, and you're not done. Let's take some time in our journaling to consider how the good times have shaped us, and maybe the good things that have come out of the things that weren't so good. Thank you for joining me for another prompt on the 52-week art journal journey. I appreciate the opportunity to encourage you to reclaim your creativity and establish a healthy habit of creative self-care through art journaling. I'll be back next week. In the meantime, have fun with this week's prompt and check the description for various links.